I'm Sue Romanoff. I'm the head of healthcare content here at Edison. I have the pleasure to introduce Erik Manting. He's the CEO of Immunicum. Hi, Erik. How are you?
Hi, Sue. Good to see you.
Great. So we have a few questions here for you. Let's just kick it off here right now. Immunicum seems to be taking a different approach to immunoncology. Can you please explain your perspective and how it differs from traditional thinking?
Absolutely. I think there's two sides to that answer, Sue. One is the technology basis, which is where we have built up specific expertise around dendritic cell biology. And we particularly focus on crosstalk between dendritic cells in the exchange of antigens between dendritic cells, which is not only interesting biology, but it also is surfacing as one of the more crucial elements in triggering successful anti-tumor immunity. And secondly, it allows us to design allogeneic products. So we have one cell line based product, and we have one product that is derived from healthy donor material. And that, of course, comes with a lot of advantages if you compare that to autologous products, which require patient material to be available and also of good enough quality. Secondly, the immuno-oncology field initially was not taken serious because everybody was under the impression that the immune system was already suffering from cancer, but then also the chemotherapy, of course, is suppressing the immune system. And for a long time, it was believed the immune system had no role at all in battling cancer once it had become a clinical phenomenon. But then the immune checkpoints changed all of that. And it's a class of molecules that basically unleashes the immune system. And it showed immediate effect in a number of tumors that were before very poorly responding to anything available. Now we are 10 years down the line, and we're starting to see that actually very little has had incremental value on top of the checkpoint inhibitors, except for mixing two checkpoint inhibitors. So we need, after thousands of trials, we really need a fundamental new look into immuno-oncology. And where we believe we have a unique positioning today is that most cancer patients die from tumor recurrence. And we believe that after initial treatment, it's often chemo, or in the case of solid tumors, also chemo combined with surgery. There is a window of opportunity where the immune system is reset, where the cancer burden is low, and where the immune system is recovering, particularly from the chemotherapy. And at that moment, we can boost immunity with the vaccination approach, which we call cancer relapse vaccination. And we hope to boost the anti-tumor immunity to the point where it can either prevent or delay tumor recurrence. And that is our unique approach. And as a last application of our dendritic cell biology approach, we look for solid tumors that are poorly responding to basically any available therapy, but certainly also are potentially being ignored by the immune system. And in those tumors, we plant a red flag. We plant an intratumoral preparation of pro-inflammatory dendritic cells. This is the healthy donor-based material. And that has resulted in a number of tumors in patients responding again. So that is the basis for another part of our pipeline.
That's very exciting. I mean, there seems to be some positive interim data for the ongoing phase 2 advanced 2 clinical trial of DCP-001 as an acute myeloid leukemia maintenance therapy. Could you please update us on your observations?
Yes, and I think, first of all, it's our most advanced trial. It's currently fully recruited, and it's a phase 2 study. It's a monotherapy trial, so it's a very important readout to demonstrate the single product activity of DCP-001. And AML is a typical example of a cancer that is very often successfully treated, particularly in patients that can undergo high-dose chemotherapy. The complete remission rate is quite high, but unfortunately, the tumor recurrence or relapse is extremely fast. And an additional element is that nowadays with sensitive molecular techniques, you can measure residual disease, and that is called measurable residual disease, or MRD. In very big studies, retrospective studies with more than 11,000 patients, it was shown that MRD correlates black and white with a poor prognosis. And also in a recent trial that was run by BMS, it was shown that patients that have MRD after initial treatment have a very fast relapse. So what we have done in parallel to the big study run by BMS, which has resulted in the approval of oral azacitidine as the first and new drug specifically for AML maintenance therapy, we also did a monotherapy study with our product. And we first focused on MRD. And we showed already end of last year that the initial responses to the vaccination, to the cancer relapse vaccination, were quite good. So we saw already responses in 14 out of 20 patients, either with a reduction of MRD, a stabilization of MRD, or in some cases, a complete conversion of the MRD status. And what we have recently shown, beginning of last week, was first of all the complete MRD data. And there was a fifth patient that completely converted MRD status upon vaccination. But also with now a median follow-up of 14 months of these patients that we recruited, we start to see how the MRD effects translate into survival benefit. And what we could report was that a 6 months relapse-free survival estimate was at 84%. And overall survival at 97%. And that bodes very well for the further follow-up of that study, where by year end, we will have within the study period, all data available for all patients. And of course, looking to further analyze the relapse-free and overall survival data from that trial.
Great, great. Could you walk us through your pipeline and your anticipated milestones?
Yes, of course, Sue. And let's start with the AML trial that we just discussed. So that will shape up further. And that's, of course, one of the biggest value inflection points we are looking for. Of course, the data already are quite mature, but to see them mature further and also add additional data, including, for example, immunomonitoring data that we are collecting, will provide for an even more robust and complete picture of that trial. To prepare for the next stages of clinical development will to a certain extent depend on how strong those data will be by year end, but of course we will not wait for that. So we are in parallel preparing for the next phase of clinical development. And also very importantly, we need to make sure that we have a manufacturing infrastructure that supports pivotal stage and commercial manufacturing. So we recently hired Leopold Berthea as Chief Technology Officer. He comes with a lot of experience from Novartis, and he is responsible for setting up that infrastructure. So to make sure that when we have the data, we are also ready to take next steps in AML maintenance. That is first and foremost what we are focusing on. Secondly, we have a trial ongoing in ovarian cancer. And ovarian cancer is also a disease that suffers from a very high recurrence rate, and that makes it actually the deadliest gynecological cancer. What we're doing in that trial is to show the simple principle that we can trigger immune responses with our vaccine in ovarian cancer patients. So it's first and foremost a safety and feasibility study, but it's also an important step towards a broader application of this cancer relapse vaccination. So that is another element that will become more visible this year. And then lastly, with the intratumoral primer, ilixadencel, we have decided to prepare for a next trial in gastrointestinal stromal tumors, which is a very difficult to treat tumor. And after first-line treatment fails, there's basically very little these patients or these tumors respond to. So that's, we believe, a very important indication to target with our intratumoral priming. And also we base that on earlier studies where we did observe that we could treat these patients and basically restore responsiveness of their tumors. So that's another milestone that we are pursuing. And then finally, we have a very broad preclinical pipeline. And that includes not only our own research, we also have a broad network of academic and business collaborations, but where we focus on designing next generation products, including also next generation immune primers. So that is in this short term what will shape up, and in the longer term, of course, it is the follow-up of those different steps that we will keep the market updated on.
Yeah, great. So finally, what are the events or catalysts that investors should look out for in the next 12 months?
The outcome of the trials that are ongoing, and obviously the AML trial could become a game changer. There's really a big need for products that are not only effective, but that are also safe and that lead to more durable responses in those patients. So that is first and foremost the catalyst we are looking for. And then follows everything else.
Great, great. So thank you for taking the time here for sharing your story, and also thanks everyone for listening in.